It's that time again. Main Man T. Back for the Bro Code Podcast. Produced by Kennedy Lucas.
What's good, fam? You already know what time it is. It's May 26, 2025, and you're tuned into the dopest, realest, most unapologetically raw show on the airwaves, the Bro Code Podcast. Headphone collision. I'm your main man, Terry Lester, bringing that heat straight from the heart of the culture. And yo, I'm not riding solo today. We got a very special guest riding shotgun, a true titan in media, the creative genius, the voice behind 1,000 moves. Kennedy Lucas is in the building, y'all.
Glad to be in the mix, Terry. You know I had to come through and vibe with the real ones for this one.
Bro, you already know. And today, we got that fire lined up. Real talk about life, legacy, loyalty, and how the Bro Code still holds strong in a world that's trying to rewrite the rules. We're digging into it all. Relationships, money, manhood, and how we keep it 10 toes down while leveling up.
It's rocking, you docking, you should in tradition. Growth in the grind, all facts, no fluff. And if you're out there grinding, hustling, trying to figure it out, this one's for you.
So grab your headphones, pour up something, and lock in. Because when the Bro Code speaks, the real ones listen. The 2025 NBA Conference Finals have tipped off, with 4 teams fighting for a spot in the finals. The No. 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder, after a tough 7-game series against the Denver Nuggets, kicked off the Western Conference Finals Tuesday night. They defeated Anthony Edwards and the visiting No. 6 seed Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 1 behind Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's 31 points, and then took a 2-0 lead in the series in Game 2 on Thursday night. The Thunder will travel to Target Center for Games 3 and 4, as the Timberwolves will look to bounce back at home. In the East, the No. For seed Indiana Pacers completed an improbable comeback against the No. 3 seed New York Knicks on Wednesday at Madison Square Garden after Tyrese Halliburton made a tying field goal at the buzzer of the fourth quarter to force OT. The Pacers then grabbed Game 2 behind Pascal Siakam's 39-point performance Friday to take a 2-0 lead in the series as they head back to Indiana. As these elite teams face off, our NBA insiders break down their biggest takeaways from every matchup and what to watch for in both conference showdowns. And this is why you can't blow a 17-point fourth quarter lead. The Knicks should have come into Game 2 with a series lead. Instead, they trailed, and they couldn't afford a bad performance. But that's exactly what happened. Pascal Siakam took over for the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton got hot in the second half, and Indiana, for a second straight series, took a 2-0 lead on the road. The Pacers are in a solid position to return to the NBA Finals for the first time in a quarter century. In the entire second half, the Knicks were unable to get a stop. Coach Tom Thibodeau left Karl Anthony Towns on the bench for most of the fourth quarter as a result, but the defense still didn't improve. And New York's starting lineup got worked by the Pacers for the second straight game. Indiana, meanwhile, got a sensational game from Siakam, who scored almost half of the Pacers' points in the first half and wound up with 39 on 15 for 23 shooting. It was a kind of performance that can swing a series, especially on the road. And it was exactly the kind of performance Indiana hoped to get from Siakam, who was gone for 26 and 10 in a closeout game to win an NBA title, when the Pacers acquired him from the Toronto Raptors last season. The Pacers now carry the momentum to the league's championship round, and New York's season is on the brink of ending, even after the Pacers stole Game 1 with an improbable victory. Coach Rick Carlisle was quick to remind everyone that the job was not finished, and Indiana was not satisfied with just one win in New York. Just like it did to start the second round against the Cleveland Cavaliers, Indiana went on the road and began the series with back-to-back wins, jumping to a 2-0 lead as the series shifts back to Indy. Siakam set the tone, scoring the Pacers' first 11 points and finishing the first quarter with 17. Siakam's 39 points were a playoff career high, and Indiana had 6 players finish in double figures for the kind of backbreaking win Indiana has made routine during this postseason run. The Pacers are 6-1 on the road this postseason. The Knicks, now desperate and in a 2-0 series hole, had a fantastic thing going with backup center Mitchell Robinson early. But Game 2 indicated that there might be limitations on how much he can keep up with the pace in this series. Robinson, who has the Knicks' second-best plus-minus this postseason, trailing only backup guard Deuce McBride, has consistently been a bright spot. So much so that opposing clubs have made a point to hack him and force the poor shooting big man to the line. He was that good again Friday, hammering the Pacers on the glass and repeatedly giving the Knicks second chances. Thibodeau used Robinson for 16 minutes straight at one point in the first half, a long stint, considering Robinson has averaged just 20 in the playoffs. He finished tied with a team best +6 Friday, but on a night when all NBA center Towns was struggling to defend in space, Thibodeau stuck with Robinson down the stretch. Just one problem. After a massive block on Halliburton that electrified the guard in Robinson, who has long struggled with injuries and missed the first 60 games this season rehabbing, looked as if he might have rolled his ankle. One key offensive rebound notwithstanding, he didn't look the same after that play with 7:41 left. The 29 minutes Robinson played were the second most he has played all season. But more than anything, it might be the Pacers' unrelenting tempo that's tough for him in this series, one that the Knicks desperately need him for. This one's simple. No NBA team has ever overcome a 3-0 deficit to win a playoff series, so the Knicks face a must-win in Indiana on Sunday. A victory, with so much urgency on their side, is doable. In the second round, Cleveland and Boston won Game 3, on the road after dropping the first two games at home. Of course, the Cavaliers and Celtics went on to lose those series, but that's a problem for next week. The Knicks need to win Game 3 first. The good news for the Knicks, if any exists, is that the first two games in the series have been remarkably even. This isn't like the 2-0 advantage in the Western Conference Finals, where the Thunder are running roughshod over the Timberwolves. The Knicks lost Game 1 in overtime and had a chance to tie the score in Game 2 in the final seconds. If a couple of shots had bounced off the rim differently over the past few nights in Madison Square Garden, the Knicks could be flying Indiana ahead 2-0, or at the very least tied in the series. One through line is that neither team can stop the other, which is a surprise, since both boasted top 10 offenses but only middling defenses in the regular season. That trend is carried over to the conference finals, where Indiana and New York have offensive ratings higher than 120. The most encouraging sign for the Knicks as they contemplate a comeback is that the Pacers still haven't exhibited any ability to shut down Jalen Brunson, who has 79 points on 28 for 52 shooting, 54% through 2 games. If Brunson can maintain that efficiency while the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau figure out any semblance of a strategy to slow the Pacers' high-octane attack, then New York still has a chance to reach the finals. But the odds aren't in their favor after a disappointing set of games at the Garden.
So, T, here are the biggest takeaways for the Thunder. Once again, Oklahoma City overwhelmed Minnesota in the third quarter. In this instance, the Thunder outscored the Timberwolves 35-21, a 14-point margin identical to that of Game 1's third quarter. Those dozen minutes on Thursday encapsulated why Oklahoma City has been so dominant all season. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was in complete control on the offensive end, scoring 11 of his 38 points and making 2 of his 8 assists. The Thunder's defense swarmed and smothered, holding the Timberwolves to 6 of 20 shooting and forcing 5 turnovers that Oklahoma City converted into 12 points. And the Thunder's deep bench made its presence felt, with Cason Wallace and Alex Caruso cranking the defensive chaos up a couple of notches. Biggest takeaways for the Timberwolves: Anthony Edwards vowed to shoot more after putting up only 13 attempts in the Wolves' blowout loss in Game 1 and did so in the Wolves' Game 2 loss on Thursday. His 18 attempts in the first half were his most in any half of a playoff game in his career, and he finished with 32 points on 12-26 shooting, but it didn't matter. Too many of the same issues that plagued Minnesota in the series opener popped up again in Game 2. Turnovers 14, resulting in 22 points for the Thunder. Missed threes 11 for 39 overall, with Edwards going 1 for 9 and letting go of the rope. The third quarter, OKC used a 14-2 run in Game 2. Mirror the 17-2 death knell the Thunder sprang on the Wolves in Game 1. And an unexpected challenge also presented itself for the Wolves. Julius Randle struggled through his first bad game of the postseason. Randle, limited to 6 points on 2 for 11 shooting and 4 turnovers, was benched in the fourth as Minnesota coach. Chris Finch went with Nasri in points, 8 rebounds, 0 for 5 from 3 instead. Gives it Wolves some credit for cutting the deficit to 10 in the final minutes after the Thunder's lead had swelled to 24, but I never felt as though like Oklahoma City was in jeopardy of losing. The only solace Minnesota can take into game 3 is that there is mystery wide is trailing 2-0. What needs to be addressed as the conference finals shift to Target Center is abundantly apparent for all the in-game comebacks we've seen in this year's playoffs. We get to see anyone complete a notable comeback in a series. No team has yet rallied from a 2-0 deficit. Minnesota was actually on the wrong end of the last one of those, having taken a 2-0 lead on the road against the Denver Nuggets in last year's conference semifinals. The Indiana Pacers also came back from down 2-0 to the New York Knicks. In the New York Knicks in the same, right, head into a must-win game 3. I wonder if we'll see Chris Finch go to Nasri year earlier. Replayed the entire fourth quarter as the Timberwolves made a late push with a small lineup on the court featuring neither Randall nor Rudy Gobert in order to have enough quickness to send doubles at Gilgeous-Alexander and rotate behind them. A force in the paint in both of Minnesota's closeout wins during the first 2 rounds. Gobert hasn't yet been able to make an impact on offense against Oklahoma City's defense. He has combined for 7 points on 3-8 shooting, reads floor spacing, and the ability to create his shot puts more pressure on the Thunder. At the same time, the Timberwolves sacrificed paint defense with Reed at center, as it was Oklahoma City shot a sizzling 63 inside the arc in Game 2. Per ESPN research, that accuracy was unchanged with Gobert off the court. One thing we likely won't see much of in Game 3. Minnesota's zone defense. After playing just a handful of zone possessions in Game 1, the Timberwolves went to it more regularly Thursday, particularly in the third quarter. After struggling to score against Denver's zone, the Thunder torched Minnesota's version to 35 points on 14 of 26 shooting. According to ESPN research. Next, we talk W.A. Dior defeated the Indiana Fever 98 in nail-biter on Saturday at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Caitlin Clark continued her three-point shooting slump after starting 0-4-7 from deep. However, shots began to drop when she converted a triple through contact at the 1-4 mark of the third quarter for a 4-point play and deep buzzer beater to end the third quarter. A 34-footer that was the deepest shot of this season. Indiana entered the fourth quarter with a 12-point lead, but a Liberty run helped cut it to 82-81 with 5:33 remaining. Liberty guard Sabrina Ionescu drew a foul with 2.9 seconds remaining to make for it. Knocked down 2 free throws, giving New York a small lead. But the Fever still had a chance to tie or win the game. However, Clark was stripped by Natasha Cloud before she could get up a final shot attempt, giving New York the win. Jonquel Jones led the Liberty with 26 points and 12 rebounds, her 25th career game, with at least 20 points and 10 rebounds. Aliyah Boston finished with an impressive 27 points and 13 rebounds. Clark finished with 18 points, 10 assists, and 10 turnovers. It marks Clark's third career game with 9 or more turnovers, which ties for the most games in NBA history with Betty Lanks. New York has scored at least 90 points in all 3 games this season. It is the second team in WNBA history to begin a season with 3 consecutive 90-point games. The Las Vegas Aces are the only other team to achieve that milestone with 5 straight games. Here are the highlights from New York's win over Indiana.
Kennedy, did you catch SmackDown here in Savannah? After the usual shots of superstars walking backstage, we saw Damian Priest attack Drew McIntyre backstage. When we went to the arena, Tiffany Stratton made her way out to give a promo. It took about a minute before Alexa Bliss interrupted her. It didn't take long for Flair to join them. She got a ton of heat from the crowd as she spoke. This was a pretty tame segment that ended with Tiffy leaving as Julia came out for the qualifying match with Flair and Vega. All 3 women traded moves for a couple minutes, but nobody could get a clear upper hand. Each competitor had brief moments of control that never seemed to last more than a minute. While the pace was quick, it felt like there was a lack of urgency to moves. Each spot was done as part of a predictable sequence, so nothing felt spontaneous. It was surprising to see three talented wrestlers have a match like this. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. The last few minutes picked up quite a bit, and everyone came close to winning at different points. But in the end, Julius scored the win to earn a spot in the MITB match. The second match on this week's show featured Chris Sabin taking on Tommaso Ciampa, but Alex Shelley and Johnny Gargano were also at ringside. Sabin got the better of Ciampa during their initial exchange, but the former NXT champion tapped into the aggression he was known for to take control. This was a fun back-and-forth contest between two guys who know each other pretty well. They focused mostly on technical offense and strikes, but Sabin used a couple of high-flying moves to add some excitement. Shelley took a running boot that was meant for Sabin during a distraction from Gargano. As Ciampa faked a knee injury, Candice LeRae attacked Sabin from behind, allowing Ciampa to hit a running knee for the win. R-Truth makes his way to the ring to talk about John Cena. He isn't fighting his childhood hero tomorrow night. The man he sees now, he doesn't recognize him. Truth couldn't figure out where it went wrong, or he could have prevented this. But then he realized the problem. Power. It's always power. He used to call him his friend, his brother. But the more power and fame he got, the more disconnected he felt. The text messages, the replies slower, phone calls stopped. Truth felt he was always annoyed with him because everything he did felt wrong. He thought he did something to upset him, but then they talked to others and they felt the same way. John Cena isolated himself with power. He was like that goblin fella on Lord of the Rings. That's John Cena, staring at his championship. It's not the championship, it's his ego. Cena stopped having fun and is now getting mad when others are having fun. He's clearly not happy. He is the greatest of all time. Truth doesn't know if he can bring him back, but he won't take his joy away. You want to ruin wrestling? So, if he wants to save wrestling, he has to save Cena. If he has to put his hands on him, he will smack that hustle, loyalty, and respect right back into his ass. On Saturday, we say it again, if Cena wins, we riot. What's up? Nick Aldis lets Jacob Fatu know he will be in a Money in the Bank qualifying match next week. Fatu is so happy he tells Solo Sikoa he loves him like he used to. Piper Niven and B-Fab begin the action. The bell rings and the two lock up. Alba Fire tag in and fires off stomps on B-Fab in the corner, and Niven pulls on her hair as Fire distracts the referee. Niven then tags in and continues wearing down B-Fab, but Zelina Vega appears to level green with a knee on the outside. Niven chases Vega, but B-Fab levels her with a clothesline off the apron. Mikan then lands Eat the Feet on Fire, and B-Fab follows it up with a facebuster for the win. Jimmy and Fatu begin the action. The bell rings, Mateo tags himself in much to the frustration of Fatu. Mateo and Fatu stare one another down intensely, allowing Jimmy to take advantage and fire off chops on Mateo. Mateo levels Jimmy and fires off stomps on him, but Fatu tags himself back in. Phoenix tags in and levels Fatu with a Hurricane Rana, then super kicks Mateo out of the ring with Jimmy. Fatu and Mateo then take turns tagging in and out to wear down Jimmy. Jimmy flies off the middle rope to level Mateo with a flipping kick after he tags back in. Fatu and Phoenix tag in, and Phoenix walks the ropes. He levels Mateo on the apron with a kick and sends Fatu crashing into Matt with an old school, then rocks Fatu with a kick and follows it up with a Hurricane Rana. He goes for a pin, but Fatu kicks out. Jimmy and Mateo tag in, and Jimmy delivers a crossbody to Mateo off the top. He goes for a pin, but Fatu breaks the fall and stares down Jimmy. Phoenix sends Fatu crashing out of the ring with a dropkick and looks to land a Tope Suicide on him. But Fatu catches Phoenix and sends him crashing over the announce desk. Back in the ring, Jimmy delivers a spear to Mateo and ascends to the top. Solo Sikoa hops up on the apron, opening the door for Mateo to pick Jimmy off the top rope and send him crashing into the mat with the Tour of the Islands for the win. Axiom and Angelo Dawkins begin the action. The bell rings and the two lock up. Fraser tags in, but Dawkins runs him over with a shoulder tackle and goes for a pin. Fraser kicks out, but Montez Ford tags in and double teams on Fraser with Dawkins. Dawkins lands a right hand on Fraser's midsection. The Street Profits continue to wear down Axiom when he tags back in. Dawkins connects with Flapjack on him and goes for a pin, but Axiom kicks out. Dawkins whips Axiom into the corner, but Axiom flies off the middle rope and levels Dawkins with a jumping DDT. Fraser and Ford tag in, and Fraser levels Ford with a sling blade. He lands a dropkick on his knee and a second sling blade, then follows it up with a running moonsault and goes for a pin. Ford kicks out, but Fraser connects and ends with gyri on him, and a kick on Dawkins from the apron. He then delivers a dropkick to Ford off the top rope and pins him, but Ford kicks out. Fraser cinches in a triangle on Dawkins as Axiom locks in a sleeper on Ford. Dawkins sends Fraser crashing on top of Ford and Axiom to break both holds, but Fraser delivers a superplex to Ford. Fraser and Axiom then deliver a brainbuster superkick combination to Ford before the Street Profits respond with a Japanese Ocean Cyclone suplex blockbuster combination to Axiom. Dawkins goes for a pin, but Fraser breaks the fall. Fraser makes the blind tag in, and Axiom delivers a Spanish fly to Dawkins. Fraser follows it up with a 450 splash and goes for a pin, but Ford breaks the fall with a kick to Axiom's head. Hashtag DIY and Candice LeRae run down to the ring, but the Motor City Machine Guns follow them close behind and begin brawling with them on the outside. Ford flies to take down the Motor City Machine Guns and hashtag DIY on the outside, and Dawkins delivers a spinebuster to Fraser. He tags in Ford, but the lights go out. When they come back on, the Wyatt Six are standing in the ring. They begin attacking everyone in sight, causing the disqualification. Nikki Cross rains down right hands on LeRae as Gacy delivers the upside down Ford and power bombs Loomis on top of him. Uncle Howdy cinches in the mandible claw on Fraser, then delivers a Sister Abigail to Gargano. The Wyatt Six stand tall as the show goes off the air.
Now, T, here's the latest in the gaming community. A TikTok user has been verbally attacked over a lack of knowledge about video games. Video game adaptations were generally disregarded for decades, but that has changed in recent years. We are experiencing a golden age of video game adaptations with the likes of the wildly successful Super Mario Bros. Movie, the critically acclaimed Fallout series on Amazon, and of course The Last of Us on HBO. Projects like these are helping people who may have never really played video games discover the medium. Unfortunately, the gaming community hasn't always welcomed these newcomers, as one TikTok user recently found out. TikToker Tallerwood was made a viral video asking her viewers to explain video games using The Last of Us HBO series as an example. She asked, "What do you guys mean? Oh, this happens in the game." To my knowledge, video games are a player-by-player, case-by-case thing. When guys are on 2K, Call of Duty, all that stuff isn't like each player's own experience. I don't get. So this happens to Joel in the games, or Kelly does this in the game. So the whole plot is the same for every player. Then how is it a game? I sound so stupid. Please don't cuss me out. I do not get it. The video has amassed over 24,000 views at the time of this writing. After posting the video, the TikToker received messages stating that she should unalive herself because she didn't know about video games. "You gamers are crazy," she said in the follow-up video. In that same video, Tyler Wards explained that she has never played video games before, was genuinely asking. She then thanked the people that stitched the video and answered her question. "I get it now. I don't even want to learn how to play video games." That's what got to say. While many of the nearly 7,000 comments on the original video are helpful in understanding, there are those that attack Tyler Wards over her lack of knowledge about video games. If someone has never played video games before, it would make sense that they would not be aware of what video game entails. After all, game depictions in movies and TV are hardly ever an accurate representation, and it seems those around her primarily played multiplayer games. While it's okay to be surprised that someone doesn't know that there are story-based games, attacking someone over it is wild and unfortunate. On the bright side, many of the comments on the follow-up video were positive. Some apologized for the actions of toxic people that commented on the original video. User Willie Bostello said, "Real gamers will help you out and support you. Everyone with the hate comments are not real gamers." User Katie Johnson said, "The ones that insulted you are not gamers." User Fed said, "The gaming community just fumbled. Some left suggestions on games that Talibor should try." One suggested that she play cozy games, while another said she should try Animal Crossing. Another said that she should buy a PlayStation 5 and play through the Last of Us games to go through the emotional roller coasters.
That's crazy, Kennedy. More on the gaming news, though. The Nintendo Switch 2 is right around the corner, and it's shaping up to be a rather interesting successor console indeed. Despite being buffeted by negative criticism for a number of unpopular or inexplicable decisions, like the choice to make the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour full price instead of a packed-in tech demo, the Switch 2 is almost certain to land, well, with a good number of the first console's fans. Nintendo has good reason to be confident about the Nintendo Switch 2, as it retains the strengths of its progenitor while being considerably, meaningfully more powerful. Its newfound processing power will allow the Switch 2 to run heavy-hitting games like Cyberpunk 2077 and Elden Ring, but also opens the door to upgraded versions of Switch 1 releases, which is tantalizing. With the first Switch being so strongly maligned for its considerable lack of power in relation to its Sony and Microsoft counterparts, one can only hope that the Switch 2 will take full advantage of its newfound capabilities. And that starts with the games being ported and enhanced from the Switch 1. Switch games that get free Switch 2 upgrades. ARMS, Big Brain Academy, Brain vs. Brain, Captain Toad, Treasure Tracker, Clubhouse Games, 51 Worldwide Classics, Game Builder Garage, New Super Mario Bros., U Deluxe, Pokemon Scarlet, Pokemon Violet, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Super Mario Odyssey, The Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom, The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening. Thus far, there are only a handful of original Switch games confirmed for a free upgrade on the Switch 2. Generally speaking, the Switch 2 editions of these games will implement graphical improvements, allowing them to output at higher resolutions, achieve better FPS, and in the case of games like ARMS, Echoes of Wisdom, and Super Mario Odyssey, HDR support. Many of these titles will also be updated to support game chat and game share features, like real-time game footage streaming and video chat. This is the biggest enhancement for Big Brain Academy, Brain vs. Brain and Clubhouse Games, 51 Worldwide Classics, which do not appear to be receiving any notable visual upgrades, likely due to the rudimentary nature of their graphics. It should be noted that not every game in the above list is getting dedicated game share and game chat support. ARMS, Game Builder Garage, Super Mario Bros., U Deluxe, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Echoes of Wisdom, and Link's Awakening are only receiving graphical and performance enhancements. Switch 1 titles with premium upgrades: Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Metroid Prime 4, Beyond, Pokemon Legends, ZA, Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, Shadow Labyrinth, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, Story of Seasons, Grand Bazaar, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tamagotchi Plaza, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario Party Jamboree, and Kirby and the Forgotten Land will cost $20 to upgrade and will include a number of visual and performance enhancements alongside new content, with Mario Party getting a number of new gameplay modes designed around Switch 2 exclusive features. Meanwhile, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom will cost $10 to upgrade, or they can be upgraded for free for those with NSO Plus expansion pack subscriptions. Pricing for all the other above titles is to be determined. As the games industry learned in the early days of the PS5 and Xbox Series consoles, charging for access to next-gen features tends to be unpopular, but hopefully Nintendo can offset this with the addition of new content for such premium titles. Some criticism is likely to be expected in this respect, so it will be interesting to see how Nintendo's upgrade pricing structure is received in the long run. It's been nearly a decade since Persona 5 hit the scene, and developer Atlus has still not officially announced Persona 6. Another entry in the long-running JRPG franchise seems all but guaranteed, though, and a lot of fans are growing restless as they wait for any news about Persona 6. Although many Persona fans may be growing weary of the wait, there's at least a silver lining in knowing that there are plenty of other gamers who are also waiting for information about highly anticipated titles, like Beyond Good and Evil 2 and the Knight of the Old Republic remake. However, Hollow Knight. Silksong is a game that is really pushing its fan base to the limits, and the sequel in Persona 6 are quickly becoming two sides of the same coin. It's now been 6 years since the announcement of Silksong, and while Team Cherry, the developers behind the Hollow Knight games, was once eyeing a 2023 launch window, that clearly did not come to pass. That originally targeted window is now 2 full years in the past, and the developer has shared little information about the sequel's progress, leaving a lot of gamers wondering if the game will ever be released. While Team Cherry has remained relatively quiet, it has at least been confirmed that the developer is still hard at work on making sure that Silksong is a game worthy of its predecessor. Developing a follow-up to a game as beloved as Hollow Knight is certainly no easy task. It's almost like trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice, and it's understandable as to why Silksong's development is taking so long. However, the lack of updates can make the wait for the game feel even longer. Fans did get a look at Silksong during the Switch to Nintendo Direct event back in April, but its appearance was only seconds long. As to when players might see Silksong again, there are rumors that the game could make an appearance at the Xbox Game Showcase next month, though this claim should definitely be taken with a grain of salt. Really, Silksong could show up at any time, and the same could be said for Persona 6. While fans are hopeful that Atlus will finally unveil Persona 6 sometime this year, the studio's ongoing radio silence means that the verdict is still out on whether the game's official announcement is coming anytime soon. It would be exciting enough if Silksong was present at the Xbox Game Showcase in June. However, if official information about Persona 6 was also released this year, it could be a thrilling 1-2 punch. Right now, Persona 6 has merely been fertile soil for speculation to grow, and while that can be fun in its own way, it also makes the absence of the game that much more apparent. It remains to be seen if Silksong and Persona 6 will surprise their fan bases this year. Silksong remains mysterious, but it could still come out within the year. That, at least, seems more likely than a 2025 release of Persona 6, considering that game hasn't even been officially announced yet. Regardless of exactly what happens, it will be interesting to see if either Silksong or Persona 6 bring forth any big surprises in the coming months. That's a wrap for today's Bro Code podcast. You already know, we kept it real, kept it raw, and kept it Bro Code certified all the way through. Big shout out to my brother in the mic, the one and only Kennedy Lucas, for riding shotgun with me today and dropping straight gems.
You know the vibes, Terry. It's always an honor to chop it up with the real ones and keep the convo lit for our culture. The Bro Code is more than just words. It's the way we move, the way we think, and how we build together.
Facts. And if y'all felt today's episode, do us a solid. Share it, repost it, and let your crew know we're not here to play. We're here to elevate the conversation, talk our talk, and bring that authentic urban flavor to the mic week after week.
And don't forget to follow us. Rate us 5 stars and turn on those notifications. You never know who's pulling up next or what truth we're about to drop. The street's talking, and Bro Code is where it all goes down.
Until next time, kings and queens, stay solid, stay focused, and never violate the code. Signing off from the Bro Code podcast, where real ones talk and the code is law. Peace, love, and respect.